Market-proof marketing episode. We have the notorious Rob Hahn back with us again. Welcome back, Rob.
Thanks for having me back.
This isn't supposed to happen.
No,
No, you're not supposed to be back on this often. We're trying to get as many, faces and voices and exposure to things.
This is
I
true.
kid. We've had a couple of people back on, but never this close together. And
but there's a very special reason, though, right? So
absolutely, right. Absolutely, and also I've gotten dressed twice today. I got in my casual Thursday afternoon. Opened the pool today. The kids are going crazy, and then talking with Rob out on the patio, and we're like, we should just
do the
get back on tonight. So it's 10 o'clock my time.
Yeah,
I took another shower, did my hair.
7 o'clock my time. Wait, I have a question. Wait, you opened the pool today?
Yeah, I mean,
aren't you in Ohio? What's the temperature?
Yeah, it was, well, today was 83 degrees, man, but which definitely helped the pool warm up faster. Last year, Rob, my wife made me open it up when it was like 40 degrees because it was our first year of having a pool. And so pool season has begun in Columbus, Ohio.
Do you have a heater?
Everyone's welcome. Oh, absolutely. Gas, propane heater. So.
Yeah. No, this, I mean, I live in Las Vegas and we haven't opened our pool yet because it's been unseasonably cold. I'm like, what? I moved to the desert, for the heat, not for this. So I'm jealous now.
Yeah, I'm beating out one of our team members. Sarah lives in Phoenix.
Yeah,
and she hasn't opened her pool yet. I don't believe.
Yeah.
So
who knew? Ohio.
Who knew? But yeah, very special reason for this late night episode. And also, if you're watching this, we don't normally put out video episodes except for people like Spencer or Ivy Zellman. This one's going to be live on video too, because we might do a little bit of show and tell with the magic of editing and so forth. Okay, but Rob, the first thing is that the world's about to end.
Yes.
You're one of those people that I listen to and lean on for the used home market, is what we call it here.
Yep.
The lawsuits, I saw Mike Del Prete recently, talking about cockroaches, and thankfully all the realtors are cockroaches and that's why they'll survive. What the heck is happening?
Did he really say that?
Oh, yeah, he said that in his keynote. His wife told him not to, he said, but he's going to do it anyway because realtors will understand.
All right. I don't fully agree, but okay. All right. That's not bad. So I guess, we went into some depth about this, I think, on the last time we spoke.
Yeah, we talked about what was happening, and you also have a podcast with the fabulous Scrub Robertson. If you really want to go in the deep dive, you can check that out as well, and we'll have a link to that. But
and we're not going to spend all time on it because I think there's a lot more important stuff that flows out of this. But basically, the latest is the Merle case has been certified as a class action, and it's not a nuclear bomb yet, but let's just say the bomb base opening. Like that's almost how to think about this. Because these opinions, man, like I read them so that you don't have to, because I have a legal background, and I'm just like, it's pretty clear which way the judge is leaning, right? So that's gonna go. I think I'm estimating the damages from that lawsuit to be at $195 billion, which means everyone is instantly bankrupt. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot of money, and then I have to ask a dumb non-legal question. First of all, if I ever get in trouble, you'll help me out somehow.
No, right? I'm not a member of the bar anymore. I'm a retired member of the New York bar.
Second question is class action lawsuits. Does the judge have, is it not a jury trial? It
is a jury trial.
Okay.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think if this was a bench trial, it's over already.
It's already done.
Because the judges, I think, tipped her hand, right? But it is a jury trial, so it will go in front of a jury. But that's not really good news either, because the plaintiff's case is pretty simple. Hey, did you sell a house since 2010 or 2015? Hey, you got ripped off. Here's a bunch of,
Think about the jury screening questions for that one. Like, have you ever sold or bought a house? Okay, we'd like them removed from the pool, please.
It's like, are you a realtor? Yes, out. Do you have any immediate family who's a realtor?
So jury trial with huge damages, which will certainly be painful and or cause certain types of bankruptcies to occur if that moved forth.
Now, the thing is that Merle case that's probably a couple of years in the future. The more immediate one is there's a very similar case, exactly identical kind of claims, exactly identical arguments, going to trial in October in Missouri, Burnett. And that one is only I estimate to be about a $6 billion case
Wow.
only. Even that is quite likely to, potentially cause bankruptcies of various companies and whatnot. But
Which that
it's
just is that, that happens or it doesn't happen, the bankruptcy
correct.
part. What do you feel
Correct.
like is the other implication that causes change in the industry? And again, for builders listening
Sure.
who are like, I'm not a realtor, what do you talk
Right.
like?
What do you care? Right.
This is going to impact more
The
than maybe
big
I think
thing
people
is going to
realize.
be around this notion of paying the seller paying the buyer's agent's commission is what's really at stake, right? That's what in the industry referred as compensation, cooperation compensation, or unilateral offer of compensation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole lot of legalese, all kinds of stuff baked into it. I think the most important consequence of that lawsuit, because I do think NAR and the defendants will lose in Burnett. Again, jury trial, right? Like the argument from the plaintiffs are going to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And then the defense argument is complicated. That's the only way I can put it.
Do you
you have
think
to
this is when we're going to finally realize or find the end result of all these surveys that talk about how much people love the agents they've worked with?
Yeah.
Is this like the ultimate truth test on how much
I
everyone really
don't
loved
think
their
so,
agents?
because I think you could say, yeah, I love my realtor, blah blah blah. But yeah, man, I had to write that $35,000 check at closing, and that really hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think they lose. That's I could be wrong because with legal cases, you never know. And the biggest implication that flows out of that is what I call the copycat lawsuits, right? So if you look at, say, tobacco, you look at, say, asbestos, right? It wasn't until there was a big lawsuit and then it's like somebody won. And then all of a sudden, like 10,000 lawyers came out of the woodwork and it's like, okay, I have a plaintiff, who has asbestos, whatever, the rare lung disease, I'm going to sue. So the issue is going to be when the Missouri case comes down, there are going to be thousands of lawsuits filed against anybody and everybody. I don't know if new home builders will be implicated in it, but the way that plaintiffs' lawyers sort of think is, hey, so who out there has big pockets? Like, let's go
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah. Right.
Could
It's
they make
interesting.
up?
I wouldn't because it's typically the sellers who feel like they've
Correct.
been lost out and the builder's been
Correct.
happy to pay, whatever historically.
They say, but on the other hand, I do wonder, let's say I'm a big builder, let's say I'm DR Horton and since 2015, I paid out, I don't know, a couple $100 million in commissions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a case to be made. You know what? Somebody owes me that money. Right? Because it turns out I paid this up, because of anti-competitive, blah, blah, blah. So
yeah. Oh, you're saying the builder could benefit and go after and say, I'm part of this as well. Like
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Unless the builder was itself like a brokerage or worked with like if you had your own listing agents, own buyer agents, who knows? Like it gets complicated with new construction, but this doesn't directly impact builders.
No, and if anything, the only thing that I really have to contribute here is I feel like overall, how home builders view and want to partner with realtors won't change. And because that general sentiment of we want to partner with them overall, as long as the pricing is fair, won't change.
That's right.
It could ingratiate more realtors who currently are like, builders are annoying as heck. I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
Be in a better relationship.
I think for builders, potentially the biggest issue is potentially going to be if after something like this, the buyer agents now have to convince their own buyer to pay them. So on the one hand, this is good for builders, right? Because builders, as we've talked about, they hate like when a buyer shows up with an agent, right? Because now they have to pay compensation. Which I know
some of them truly hate it. Some of them absolutely hate it. I would say most of them are just like, but can I pay less than 3 in that case?
Sure. But you start doing that and then the agents all talk. I mean, you and I have both seen those posts in social media. It's like,
oh, Robert,
so-and-so builder,
the first builder I ever worked for refused to pay agents ever in my career. So I got a real quick entry to that of like, you work for who? Get out of my party. Like, leave.
Exactly. Right. Like blacklisting, I mean, it's we know it happens. So it's possible that will go away. On the other hand, it also then makes it very possible that the buyer agents go, well, if my client, I have to convince my client to pay me. Do I want to take them to this new construction project that's potentially, 6 months in the future? Like, you don't know how that's all going to play out. So there's a lot of chaos coming. At the same time, I think one of the reasons why I'm back is because I've actually have what I think is a reasonably clever solution that we've built and launched. And it happens to be something that you're the guy that told me about this, honestly, because right, when we first started talking about it, like, you're like, that's really interesting, but there's an angle here that could be really beneficial to
Yeah,
builders.
let's just work through it. Because the what you have built
Yes.
in its core is what?
So what we built, the company, the site is called Decenter Property Exchange. What I've essentially built is an auction-based multiple listing service that is unaffiliated with any other MLS. It is unaffiliated with NAR, so we make our own rules. That's so, and we have to do it that way if we're going to do auctions, right? And I'm a big believer in open auctions as a way to buy and sell real estate, right? Again, with new construction, it's a little different. There's some real, sort of things to discuss and work through there. But I think your comment when you saw this, like, okay, so you're an MLS, that's right.
Yeah.
So all
And
your
I'm sorry, I have to tell this story because I'm at
okay,
my kid's soccer game. This was last fall, or soccer practice, football practice.
yeah,
And Rob calls me. I'm trying to take a nap in the car.
yeah,
And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk. That's what's going on. And at some point in the conversation, I was like, yeah, Rob, but if this doesn't get you on the places where the consumers go,
right,
which is not the MLSs
right,
themselves, but Zillow, Realtor, et cetera,
right. Who
the
cares?
builders aren't interested. And you said, well, no, I will be on them. And I said, how? And
Right,
in less than, I mean, no hesitation. He said, because I'm an MLS. And I said,
right.
well, that's cool, but don't you have to like go get blessing from the Pope or like, dip in the whatever the Mandalorian waters are that you have to
Right.
submerge yourself and come out of it? There's got to be some process.
Nope.
And he said, no, I'm going to call myself an MLS because I am one. I'm
Right.
accepting multiple listings from
Right.
multiple providers. And
Right.
I think I laughed solidly for about 2 minutes
You did.
because the profoundness of the simplicity,
Yeah,
I
you
just,
did.
I loved.
Yeah,
I
and we
loved.
enable cooperation between among the participants, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We don't enable compensation. That's a second story. But
Right. But
so yeah,
that was when I, instead of trying to nap in the car, I
yes, you
power
did.
reclined my seat
Yes, you did.
forward. And I was like, okay, so now if you're a real MLS,
Right.
but you're saying you're not going to have stupid rules that are
That's right.
archaic and arbitrary,
That's right.
this is where I immediately was.
That's
I
right.
had took a while to convince Rob, but I was like, okay, this is what builders have been asking for is I need a way to get my properties
That's right.
on these sites
That's right.
in the proper format, in the proper way,
That's right.
without having to pay a renter broker
Yep.
or a $300 fee per house
Yep.
to get a home in the MLS,
Yep.
or worse. I mean, smaller builders don't have leverage. They might still be paying 1-2% just to
Yep.
get a house listed, whether or not that agent is involved in the transaction.
And typically they are not involved in the transaction because a lot of times they can't be, right? Again, this is where resale and new construction is different. New construction, you have a spec home, you have a home, maybe at the drywall stage. It's a home. Like, you can buy that home. It has an address, as a, you know what I mean? Like, except that it's not quite finished and there's a lot of customization options that may still be available, right? Like, okay, I can't add another room, but carpet, paint, whatever, there's all sorts of things. That's where the builder's own sales representatives, they're going to handle all of that, right? So made perfect sense. So long and short of it is because of what you told me. And then there's a second piece, right? Which is we don't, so we're an MLS, we're modern. You don't have to fat finger in listings. We can take a feed from the builder.
Everyone's worried about AI and robots taking jobs, but you're gonna unemploy or reemploy in a different way.
Yeah.
Hundreds of administrative assistants or marketing coordinators whose job it is to key in MLS data.
Right. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, and I've always thought, like, why don't we do that? And I know why the MLS doesn't do it, the traditional MLS, because they're membership based and SaaS model, et cetera. We're not, so we don't care. So we take a feed. Long and short is we built it, we've launched it, we've tested it. It is now live with one of your clients who you introduced me to, Brazos Homes out of Albuquerque.
Yep.
And we take a feed from them. I think just the standard BDX feed that every builder knows and uses, populate our database, populate our MLS essentially, and then we send it on to Zillow. We'll be sending out to whoever wants it, really. And it goes across onto tab 1 because we're an MLS, right? You can't treat us differently. The non-commingling rule doesn't apply. And there it is. And we're live with it. And now I'm like, we should probably let people know that this exists.
We should probably let people know. Now, I don't know what your typical audiences are around the globe when you're
Right.
talking,
It's
but
mostly realtors.
the folks who are typically attracted to hanging out with us
Yeah.
are on the nerdier end. So I'm going to ask some
Yes.
specific details that you're not like, why? No one's going to care about this, Kevin, but people will care, and I want to
Yeah.
save us both the trouble of having to explain that.
Sure.
The first is, this seems like, the summary again is getting your homes in an MLS, not for
Yes.
the purposes of your local MLS.
That's right.
So if you want to make sure that Sally and Jane and Steve, local realtors in Dublin, Ohio, see
Yeah.
your homes in the MLS that they
Yeah.
log into,
Yeah.
this is not a solution for that.
This is not that solution.
Okay. So,
However,
yeah.
however, it kind of is as well, right? So here's what I mean. So you send the feed to us. We then send it on to the portals, right? Whatever destination.
Mm-hmm.
It shows up. The way I think about it is the way that sort of modern search works, right? To me, it's very rare that it's like an agent who finds a house and then sends an email to the client, say, hey, I found this house for sale.
Right.
I think it fits your need. It's usually the client who's up at 2 o'clock in the morning, because they want to buy a house that they're swiping, on apps, and they find the house like, oh, this is new. You know what I mean? And then they call the realtor and say, hey, I want to go see this house.
Yep.
Okay, well, when they do, like all of those agents, like you mentioned in Dublin, Ohio, they're welcome to join DPX. We don't restrict it. You know what I mean? Like there's no fee.
And so they'll see the data in the listing.
Right.
They would presumably know who to call or where to go if they
correct. They'll have the
questions.
home builder's name on it or whatnot. The call bill, hey, I want to buy this house, come see it. Cool. Then just do that. Like go to the sales center, do that. We don't particularly care.
Okay.
Right. But if they want to join our system, then they'll know that this thing has popped up as well. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not like a local MLS, but there's no reason why we can't have local members.
And to the consumer's perspective, which is really the only relevant audience here, is making sure they reach the consumer.
That's right.
You're gonna get there. Now let's talk about kind of the two sides of this. The thing that really excites me is helping builders get. Yeah, I'm gonna speak their language for a minute, Rob.
Yeah.
Getting all of your homes and communities.
Yep.
On syndication sites that have non-commingling rules.
Yep.
Rules against commingling, which would prevent you from showing up without being both as a community that's being promoted on that syndication site and in the MLS. Both things must occur in order to show yourself where most consumers are going to see the properties. This is that solution. That's one part of it. The other part is it's the data from your own site.
That's right.
And so in talking to several builders, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm just excited. I mean, this other stuff is cool, Kevin, but I want to have control as the builder over which photos are on the MLS that's syndicating to these websites, like Zillow, Redfin, anywhere who wants them. You don't care. You'll send them anywhere. They're like, I just want to be able to have control versus, again, if you partner with an agent or some MLSs, I don't know how this works. They take 50,000 crappy photos on an iPhone and put their MLS ID number in the corner. And that overrides what, you've got these amazing, beautiful images as the builder. So control over content, no stupid rules. We can talk more about that. And no,
sort of modern computer technology, like modern information technology. Right?
Okay. So let's talk about the downside.
Sure.
How much is it per listing or per community to submit this data through this?
So this is the funny part.
Because everyone's all about like, well, it's $100 neighborhood a month, or some.
So in the beginning, it was entirely free. That was because we have a very different business model, right? We're like I said, we're an auction powered MLS. So we make our money from, if there's a successful auction, we take a buyer premium, and then we pay the agents involved, and then we take a small vig, right? That our platform fee. That was our model. So would love to just have inventory. Send us.
Because you weren't even really thinking a ton about new construction
no, not at all, right? And I was like, oh, this would be a neat service. This would be a nice thing to do. And
by the way, if it had launched in 2020, like I think the idea of an auction would have been.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
now, we're going to get to that maybe as a part two, because I would still argue that new construction should consider auctions, but we'll get to that.
Yep.
That's where it started. And literally, it was after talking to you and talking to a number of builders, I realized this is entirely too good to be true. I need to have something, because it's like, wait, so this is entirely free. You're going to get on all this syndicated with no stupid rules. You're going to take an automated data feed and you're not going to charge me anything. You're not going to want any money. Like, people got suspicious. That's fine. We're going to start charging you. It's a one-time setup fee.
Okay.
Because
But it's not a like if I have 400, if I sell 600 homes a year,
yeah,
and I start 300 of those 600 as inventory homes, and I
yeah,
want to put them on your MLS to
yeah,
make sure they show the best way possible
yeah,
on consumer facing
yeah.
websites. The cost is a one-time setup fee, not a
One
per
time,
year.
and I think the way we're doing it is a one-time setup fee, and then I think we're talking about after this first year, and I'm saying whoever
Yeah.
it's the rest of 2023, we're not charging anybody anything, because my hope is that some of those homes will transact on our platform via auction, which lets us keep the lights on.
Yep.
If it turns out that because the peculiar sales cycle of new construction, no new construction home ever goes on auction, ever goes through our site, that's okay. At that point, we're probably gonna start charging
Yeah, you
the
got to pay
amount
for
of
the
listings
servers and the
basis.
bandwidth and
Yeah,
some.
exactly. Because I got to pay for the servers and the bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
But for the rest of this year, we just decided it's just one-time setup fee.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how big your file is.
Yep.
It's not a
Now,
lot.
see, Rob, I'm telling you, I know my audience, and I can hear them in my head
Yeah,
saying, "I knew it. There's something
yeah,
weird about this."
yeah.
So all of my homes have to be listed for sale by auction in order to be part of this platform.
In theory, but here's what we discovered with new construction. Even though I encourage it, we don't dictate anything to anybody. Like, to me, that's one of the things it's hard to wrap your head around, because when you think of MLS, they're
Right. Rules.
essentially regulatory agencies. So the idea of an MLS not dictating stuff to you is hard to grasp, but that's kind of our view. So with Abrazo, for example, right, it's real simple. They sent us a list price over, right? Okay, well, we set that list price as the minimum bid, the reserve price, and the buy it now. So there's really no auction. It's really like if a consumer on our site is interested, just click
Yeah.
the button.
It's like if you remember the eBay days. I don't use eBay as much anymore myself,
Yeah.
but it was like it's just a buy it now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to think about it. Because when you say buy it now, all that does is it says, hey, here's a buyer. All we're doing is matching the buyer and the seller. And then we send the information on, draft a contract, etc. Here's the thing. I don't actually think this is a huge feature yet of our site for new construction, because again, I think about the new construction sales cycle. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What is a sales cycle? It's typically a consumer goes to a portal, sees a house, so in varying stages of completion, right? Let's say it's a fully finished house, like move-in ready right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I see it. I go to my agent. Hey, I want to go see this house. Or I walk into that sales office, right? And I say, hey, I saw this on Zillow.
Yeah,
I
no
saw
one's
this
saying,
on
hold up, I
Redfin."
would like to wait for any other bids that come in on this new construction home.
Nobody
Right? So
does that,
you
right?
want it, you can have it right now.
That's right. So that the consumer walks to the sales office, the nice sales representative, so, talks them through whatever, walks them through the house. Okay, do you want it? Yeah, I want it. Cool. Let me draft the purchase agreement, and builders have their own purchase agreements many times.
By the way, you just unlocked another thing, is that a lot of builders don't put homes on the MLS
Right.
because they don't want to incur those expenses or
Right.
potentially the extra exposure to a group of people that they're going to have to pay a 3% fee to.
Right.
And just all of the hurdles.
Right.
So a lot of new construction never hits until it's almost done.
Correct.
And the other thing that drives people nuts that I've had them share with me is like, well, if I list it in the MLS when it begins construction, by the time it's almost done and most consumers or the majority of consumers are really interested in it,
Right.
there's this field next to it that says this home's been
Days on market, right?
days on market for 200 days.
That's right.
And all my realtor friends are telling me, you got to take that home off and relist it because no one wants a 200-day-old home. And they're like,
That's
it's
right.
still not even done.
That's right. That's right. So we solve both of those problems. So let's start with the easy one, the days on market thing, which is we don't really care about days on market as an MLS. I know that sounds really weird, but it's because of our particular model. Days on market is super important to traditional real estate, traditional MLS, because what it does is it gives a price signal to the buyer agent, right? So the buyer agent's looking at a home, especially resale. They go, well, this home's been on the market for 200 days. Clearly, there's something wrong with it, or it's overpriced. So when my client's going to write an offer, I'm going to, offer 30,000 below list, something like that. with an open auction, that just doesn't apply. Do you know what I mean? Like you have a minimum bid, you have a reserve price which is hidden, you see the buy it now, bid whatever you think appropriate, and then,
Yeah.
right? Who
Yeah.
cares about days on market at that point, right?
Right.
Because you could bid low, you could bid minimum bid, somebody's gonna outbid you, or they're not. Do you know what I mean? Like that, the market will dictate how that
Yeah,
goes.
we're gonna. This is just
Right.
how I had my first Korean barbecue dinner with Rob, and one of the reasons that I think we like talking to each other is that our minds both go in and out of different
Correct.
things. So I'm gonna take us back to the auction
Yeah.
part, which again might not be of interest to builders now. You don't require it,
No.
but I have friends right now that are trying to move back to Pittsburgh and have been
Yeah.
trying to move back to Pittsburgh and
Yeah.
have been involved in multiple bidding wars and offers from Columbus to a place 2.5, 3 hours away. And the frustration is, well, you lost the house. Okay,
Right.
why? We don't really know. Your offer wasn't as good.
Right.
And the auction that you're talking about is not a double blind or triple
No.
blind or what,
No.
it's transparent in terms
Yeah.
of who has bid what and
Yep.
and what terms in addition to price.
That's
And
right.
what is the seller value on
That's
it?
right.
And I think
I could even show you a quick demo, if you'd like, but
Sure.
I think that might take us too far away from the core
Yeah,
thing. So we'll
well,
come back to that if need be. But yeah,
I think that might take a while, and that's where, Rob's on a mission originally of,
Yeah.
I want this to be a transparent auction tool
yes. Yes.
that is transparent and not doing things the old fashioned way.
Right.
And then I'm over here like quasi distracting him saying, but
Yeah.
there's this really other cool thing you could help new construction with.
So, and that's what we built. And it wasn't, frankly, it really wasn't that difficult, right? Because so much of the problems came from all the rules and policies and
Yeah.
all procedures and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, we could just get rid of all that.
And
Send
I
us a
think
feed,
your ability
we'll
to
process it, we
use
send it.
existing data feeds. So
Correct.
again, if you syndicate listings and communities currently,
Correct.
really there's only two major standards as far as I'm aware, and what do I know, but
Right.
there's I think Zillow has a specific feed standard, and there's the
That's right.
BDX standard, which is
That's right.
older but more widely used, and I believe
right.
Zillow even accepts the BDX standard.
They
So
do.
that's kind of what you decided to go off of.
For start, but here's here's the next part of that. What I know about Zillow's standard, which is a little bit richer data set,
Mm-hmm.
I know that they went out and sort of talked a lot of builders into implementing this, and a number of them did. And then Zillow joined the MLSs as a brokerage participant.
Ah.
And now all of that richer Zillow whatever feed thing, you could send it to them. Zillow will process it. It has to go on tab 2 though, which is, it might as well be invisible. Like I look at tab 2 of Zillow as being on page 7 of Google. Like, yes, you're there, but you might as well not be there. Right?
Yeah. If you rank 70th, you rank nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's almost how I think about it. But what we're saying is, look, if you send us the richer data set, we can process that too.
Okay.
In fact, what I want to get to eventually is, and still BDX, honestly, it is an old XML. You mentioned your audience.
It's got to
is
be
nerdy.
2005, 2006, maybe when this thing
You
started.
mentioned your audience is nerdy, so let's kind of get into it. What I'm looking to build is modern, it's like web APIs based on like just standard JSON payloads, which means at some point, the way I look at it, home builders know, like they have internal databases,
Right.
with everything, like, the architectural design, the electrical plans, the materials that were used. They could supply all kinds of incredibly rich data if they wanted to.
Now you're teasing me,
Right,
because
if they
that's,
wanted to. Right.
well, that's one of the things that I forget who I originally had this conversation with like 4 years ago. I think it was Jeff Turner.
Yeah.
He's like, Kevin, builders know what they put in all of their homes.
Yes.
Any existing home, you're like,
Yes.
who did the electrical work in this house? No clue. What's the junction box manufacturer? No clue.
Right.
Like, unless it says Kohler on the faucet, you might not even know.
You don't know.
Like builders know all this stuff. And
Correct.
while it doesn't always have intrinsic value for a shopper at that moment, if all that can be saved, archived, and available in a transparent fashion, there's no reason. Like I can hear different builders I've worked for in my head screaming, saying, "We don't get the value we should," or they're really happy when people 7 years later say, in the listing description, this home was built by Heartland Homes. They're like, see, that people can tell we build quality.
Right.
But what if there was a more transparent way to say, no, look, you can see all the brands that went into this home.
Right. Or even something really relevant, like, so our house right here, this house I'm sitting in right now in Las Vegas, we bought the home. 2 months later, the pipe burst.
Mm.
These things happen,
Yeah.
right? We didn't know, okay, were these clay pipes? Were these, metal pipe, lead pipes? Was it PVC? We had no way of knowing until we dug a giant hole. They go down there and like, oh yeah, these are, I think they were clay pipes, or
Yeah.
something. Wouldn't it have been nice to have some data somewhere? Oh yeah, we use clay pipes. So, like, and my point is builders have all that data,
Mm-hmm.
right? Are they going to manually fat finger that into an MLS? Oh, of course not. Like, that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I want to build a data facility that says, if you have it, you want to send it to us, we'll take it. We'll take it, we'll mint it, we'll store it,
And
we'll send it on to whoever needs to send it.
What I think is, so far, you've been very reasonable in saying, tell us what you need, because there's certain people are going to say, but I don't want to send all that data, even if you can.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, my MLS has no reason to create a rule that says you must declare, empty field pipe manufacturer doesn't need to be filled in. You don't want to share it, no big deal.
Yeah, we don't care. I mean, look, there are certain fields that are going to be required. They're obvious: number of beds, bed, bath, price. You kind of need that, right?
Builders know that too, Rob. Yeah, we're good.
But so it's like, but you're exactly right. I mean, my overall approach is, we live in 2023. Computers talking to one another is a real thing. We're enabling it. Send us the data, we'll deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll send it on to wherever it needs to go. It's that simple, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we're going to do, sort of setup fees, because I needed to come up with some sort of catch. Otherwise, builders are like, this is too good to be true. You're doing something weird. You're doing something evil. I promise you we're not, because our main focus is enabling auctions.
Yeah.
So that's what we built. And I would like, my goal with the new construction side is, like I said, I don't really expect a lot of auctions to come through new construction. Again,
well, in a way, we should be rooting for it, because what you're saying is, if enough auctions do use the platform, right, then maybe it'll stay free for builders.
And in fact, I think what we have in mind is, even if we start charging after this year, builders who process 1 or 2 transactions through us, like, we'll waive the data.
Which again, you don't as a builder have to. The consumer would have to, on their own, go to your separate web platform, which is different than the syndication you're sending out to Zillow and the like. And they would have to choose on their end to transact on your platform. Well, and in that case, how much does a builder pay if they transact on your platform?
So that's the second piece, which is super important, right? We're an MLS that has no commissions. We don't charge a commission. And in fact, agents who use our platform are not allowed to charge a commission. One of our terms of use is, if you're a real estate agent, you use our platform, you must waive all other commission claims.
So if the transaction, they can put homes in multiple MLSs if they want to, but if the transaction occurs and credits your MLS as the thing that's processing it, then they can't say, well, that was free over there, but you owe me 3% from Flex MLS over.
That's right. You have to waive all other commission claims.
Okay.
So how do they get paid? Well, because what we've done is, as an auction platform, we charge a buyer premium. And then from the buyer premium, we set the buyer premium at basically the same level as the commission. So the buyer pays the buyer premium. And let's face it, the buyer's the ones paying the commission today, because the buyer's the only one bringing new money to the table. And then we will pay the agents involved. So the agents are still getting paid. Their compensation is still guaranteed. But for a builder, what it means is, you no longer have to be concerned or worried or whatever about a buyer showing up with an agent. You don't have to worry about paying that agent. We'll take care of them. Right? So, not only that, but if you're a builder and you have a sales rep who could be considered a listing agent, we'll send half the commission, half the buyer premium to the builder.
Back to the builder.
Because that's a listing agent. You're the
and this is going to cause all other interesting things. So in theory, tell me if this is legal or not. At least, again, we're not practicing lawyers, neither one of us. So check your restrictions.
Right.
But is it legal then for someone to say, I could put a home on Dissenter at a price in that auction format that is different than the price in another MLS or somewhere else?
I don't see why not.
Because if you're not paying that extra fee as the seller, That would be an incentive. So,
That's right.
I mean, we're not saying to do that. I'm not saying to do that clearly. I'm just saying there's going to be this whole other dynamic of we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Because
dynamic, and then
the market
maybe
will do what the market is going to do.
Think about this for a smaller builder, right? To your point, you don't have it inside sales stats. You're going to go work with a local agent that you know. If you have them use our system, you don't got to pay that agent, and you don't have to pay the buyer's agent. We'll take care of them. And by the way, we're going to take a data feed automated from you with as much data as you want to send us, and we'll put it on tab one of Zillow. Like, to me, that's a no lose. And if you're doing it through our platform using your agent and about whatever, then there's like obviously no fee for the data because we're making money from the auction transfer fee. If you don't do that and you want to go through the standard process, that's great. Do that. We want you to get as much attention, get as much traction, and if quite frankly, sell as many homes as possible. Because let's face it, we do have a housing crisis, and I want more people to be in homes.
Yeah.
And then just help us pay for the server costs and bandwidth costs. We're going to charge you some nominal fee.
Okay, so let me throw another scenario, because when the pandemic happened and there was a severe shortage of homes, a lot of people were trying to do quasi-auction formats.
That's right.
Of their own. Yep. With their own development teams, their own processes, or outside partners creating buy now buttons, etc.
Yep.
Is it, and we don't want to overpromise anything, obviously, but is it conceivable that if such a shortage were to occur again, or let's just say I'm a builder and I've got a particular hot neighborhood, but I've sold out of everything multiple times, and I'm now on phase 4 of the community, about to open phase 4. Is there ability then to say I'm going to, or I wish to choose to essentially push? Could I have a button on my website that says you can make an offer on this home now? It links over to the listing on Dissenter. And the auction does what the auction does.
Actually, I could go a step better. Remember I said we're all about modern interface, modern computer science. We have APIs that go out and in, meaning if you want
in our industry, Rob, we don't know what two-way APIs are, because everything is mostly 1.5 at most.
I'm just saying your nerdy audience might be interested to know. If the builder wanted to, you don't have to do the auction on our site. You could do it on yours. We'll send you all the APIs, and you could literally have the home, have a minimum bid, reserve, all that. Like, take advantage of all of our functionality, but design it on your thing with your name on it. Like, we don't care. Just then put it right there. They don't even have to come to our site.
Maybe it's because it's, now, what is it, 10:47 and the T is kicking in or something. But it's kind of then like a Stripe functionality for running an auction, or a buy it now if you just wanted to say, here's the buy it now price. But then I'm gonna use a word you're not gonna like. Then they have to transact on your platform. So what does that look like for the builder in terms of, do you have a standard MLS agreement that we have to?
Not really. And so for builders, maybe we have to look at different solutions. So you know what, if builder, call me, we'll discuss how we're going to do it for you. If you have a standard contract, maybe we just use that. But my understanding, again, with builder, with new construction, again, unless the home is fully finished, no more options, that's it. There's a whole bunch of stuff you're going to want to discuss and negotiate and go back and forth on. So I don't think it's really about that. I think it's really about identifying who the buyer is.
Yeah.
Right. So if you throw up for auction, and here's my argument for why you want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 arguments. One, even in this market, and I think you're the one who pointed this out, if you have new construction and you have priced a home kind of near that like first time home buyer level, you're going to get multiple bids. Yeah. The demand for that stock housing
anything under 400K in most markets.
Correct. So why not put it up for auction? You have a reserve price in mind. So you're like, okay, look, we need to make at least 375 in this house to turn a profit. Cool. Set your reserve at 375 and put the minimum bid at 300, 250. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't got to sell.
Okay, wait. No. This is again, we're not legal experts, but what you're saying then is I can say that home's available for sale from 375. You still have to use the reserve number. You couldn't represent the home at 300 and say my homes are starting from the 300s.
Why not?
They technically are, but the reserve is 375.
Right.
So is there any scenario because again, I'm not an auction expert, that someone ends up bidding 360, which is below the reserve, but the seller
Right.
says, you know what, I'll sell it anyway. Is that
Of course,
okay?
it's the seller's option. The only thing we require is you take the top bid, right? Because the transparency, in other words, the
so it'd be at
expectation.
your discretion. If the reserve is not met, you could say, never mind, we're going to relist again later,
Correct.
or
You can do
run the
that,
auction
right?
again a second time.
That's right. Or you could say, you know what, that top bid's good enough, is close enough. We'll take that. Bird in hand is better, right?
Maybe it's
And at least
365 with a 10-day close, and it's going to get you your final close you need before the end of the year to hit
That's right.
your goal.
That's right. But and then there's second part of that, which is, let's say, because the market is so rough, right? I mean, I'm sure builders have far better pricing mechanisms. You know what I mean? I'm sure they do.
You know, the most popular pricing method is still cost plus X% of desired profit, which is
Okay.
that's not real value.
Right. So my thing is, at a minimum, what we can do is price discovery. Let's say you're a high-end custom builder, right? And you built this gorgeous whatever mansion on the river. You did your cost plus, right? How do you know what to price?
Well, your cost plus should become your reserve in your scenario.
Correct. My point is, and then throw it up for auction, right? You know what? Have the starting bid be $1. Right.
I mean, now
you know you're going to get bids. My point is, after 30, 40 bids and the top bid is 900, that's the market now telling you your home in that condition is worth 900,000.
Oh, well, now we have another tool than what we're talking about for struggling neighborhoods. And you're, hey, here's another opportunity to test the market. The other scenario is, you know, we just had a builder in Northern Virginia do a grand opening. They sold 18 houses in one day at average price or starting price point of 800 to 1.2 million, depending on the price point.
Yeah.
But 18 in a day on an overall sales goal for the year, originally at 25.
Okay.
And so to your point, and to some of the investors maybe in that project, they're like, maybe we could have made a little extra and sold, 10 instead of 18, which is always, every culture is different. Every builder is different in terms of their approach to that, of certainty of the sale. But you could have said, hey, the best 4 home sites, which might be the other way to think about this, is the 4 home sites that are 1.5 acres in a neighborhood that is typically only half an acre. You've got a couple flag lots, or hey, those are on auction because home site premiums, which are often added on, those are basically, licking your finger in the wind and saying, sometimes, Rob, it's just someone in the room is saying, we want to make an extra $500,000 in revenue on home site premiums in this neighborhood. You figure out where to put it. And to your point, not true price discovery.
It's not true price discovery, number one. And what if the true market premium for those home sites is not 500,000? What if it's 700?
Yeah.
You'll never know unless you put it out there.
You do know. If all of those sell first, then you did it wrong.
Correct. And by that time, it's too late, right? You left 200,000 on the table. So look, this is my argument for why I think auctions apply to new construction as well, right? I'm just pointing out it's not required. We don't, again, we're not dictating to anybody what they should do. All we're saying is it's available, but it really, all we wanted to achieve, our main thing that we're trying to deliver to new construction is this data problem. So I forgot to mention this. I said we're tackling reverse. The days on market thing, is we don't care about it. Our days on market, we don't really keep that stat. What we'll do is we will send along, right, to distribution partners. So take Zillow, Redfin, whatever. They'll get its first list date. But every time there's a new auction for us, that's a new listing, if you will. So if you do an auction, so with the Brazos, I think for now, I believe they're on 14-day cycles. So every 14 days.
And the auction again is
it's just reset.
It's a buy it now auction that's every 14 days.
Every 14 days. So every 14 days.
Wait. So again, let me use my own words so I make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. Because I like you, Rob, but I like my audience and I like my builders better.
Yeah.
You're saying essentially you are relisting or refreshing the listing every 2 weeks.
Correct. And I think that they set that. We didn't set that. You want to reset every
you mean Abrazo set that, to be specific?
Yeah. We don't care what the builder sets it at. We're just saying we're automated. Since we don't really care about the days on market concept in an auction context, we'll do whatever the seller, whatever the builder wants. If they want to do it every 7 days, do it. Now, So when you get to the next level of completion, you upload all new photos in your system, not right. We have that feed. We refresh all the photos. You want to start over at that point? Cool. Let's start over. So now it's a 1 day on market property.
You know,
You refresh
I
photos again. It's a
this
1 day on
is
market
maybe
property.
the sixth or seventh time that we've talked about this in depth, and it's funny how I still find myself bumping up against these artificial barriers, and you keep coming like, no, we don't have to do it that way.
No,
I'm just like,
no, because
okay,
here's the thing: we're trying to reflect reality. We're trying to reflect reality, right? And then here's the second point I'll make: the days on market thing being super important in resale. Let's just look at in resale where it is actually important, right?
mm-hmm.
In our case, what we're saying is the seller dictates how long the auction goes for, when it starts and when it ends. And you don't have to, so you could list a house today, right? And say, I'm going to do a 3 day auction 30 days from now. So for 30 days, people can come and see the house, check it out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then auction day comes, we start the auction, and 3 days later, we're going to have a winner. Why do we need 200 days on market for?
Well, and for builders, there's another opportunity that's different for existing, which is you run an auction.
Yeah.
Only one person gets the house.
Yeah.
Transparently, everyone else can see.
Yeah.
Oh, but we could build another one at the price of the second place person. Like,
Sure.
we can do that for you.
Sure.
Like, you lost that one, but the builder can build the same floor plan over and over
That's
again.
right. That's right. I mean, it's not that hard to even imagine, right? You know, like Amazon has the similar, like
Mm-hmm.
people who have looked at this house have also checked out these 5 houses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to imagine something like we're just trying to bring real estate sort of industry prop tech data into the 21st century, honestly.
Yeah. And
So that's,
I don't think I've ever asked you on air like
yeah,
what it is you really have done or been up to, but you essentially you're like uh, a Kevin Oakley figure to MLSs. Like
yes,
you've been working, so
yes.
it's not like you just woke up and said, "There's a better way to do this," and you came from
No, I spent
wine
12
sales
years.
or
Yeah. I
something.
spent 12 years consulting with MLSs, associations, prop tech companies, brokerages. So I kind of know where all the pain points are, and I kind of think I know what the solutions are, right? And we brought up the lawsuit. The reason why I think what I'm doing is beyond just, selfish, greedy, like capitalist thing is because I think if that lawsuit drops, we are going to be able to protect compensation because what we're doing is not a commission arranged by a board of directors at NAR and all these
Right.
rules. No, we are an auction site. We charge an auction premium, and what we do with our money afterwards is nobody's business but ours. So we think we can protect compensation and commission for the agents who are, quite frankly, they
Yeah.
work their asses off. Right?
Okay, so I think we've
So
talked a lot to builders, but there
yes,
are a good number of agents and brokers who also listen to the show.
yes, yes.
So let's just leave them with an insight into how you feel like they should be taking advantage of the platform in terms of being able to offer a listing service to a seller
Yeah,
for the cost of nothing.
yeah. It's very straightforward. It's exactly what you said. You're a full service agent. You're not a discounter. You're not a yard sign only. You're not an MLS only agent. You're a full service agent, right? And you're very experienced. You know what you're doing. You now have the ability to go to a seller and say, I can provide all these services, but I have a way for you to pay 0%. There are all these like companies out there. It's like
Yeah.
1% listing fee. How do you feel about 0% listing fee? You can actually do that and not be lying
And
about it.
0% for full service is the thing that definitely is going to take explanation because
Correct.
it's one of those, again, it seems too good to be true.
Correct.
But the 1% person is talking about, I'll give you a sign that you probably have to install yourself and I'll put in the MLS.
Or it's minimal service or something else, right? This
Yeah.
is, and I'm saying, look, the agent can say, look, I can offer 0% because if you do it through DPX, they're going to pay me.
Yeah.
How are they gonna do that? What's a buyer premium thing, concept, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let's be transparent about it. We're not trying to play hide the ball here. We're very transparent. The buyer pays the commission today. We're saying the buyer will pay the buyer premium in our system. The buyer's not paying any more. They're not spend, you know what I mean? Like it's simple. But that simple switch does allow for us to deliver a lot of this value. So for a broker agent, I think, yeah, just go pitch that. Come sign up and go pitch that. I mean, that's really how I see it. With respect to new construction, though, there is an angle here that is super interesting. Buyer agents. So first of all, let's be honest. Listing agents don't really care that much about home builder business,
Right.
because they're institutional. They're going to get 1% listing fee, whatever, right? If you are that agent, it might not be a bad idea to go to that builder client and say, hey, have you considered maybe putting the stuff on DPX? Because then I can charge you 0 if it's done through that platform, because they'll take care of me.
Yeah.
If
and again, right? Rob's not talking about requiring this.
No, just
but there option. There are already builders who, again, they've either built this on their own or partnered with people who are requiring all sales transactions to be keyed in by the sales team using essentially an online transaction tool of their own design.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason that, again, a builder who's lean and scrappy and needs to protect costs and still provide great service to the customer can't say, yeah, our home's for sale. Yep. And again, not recommending people do this. I'm just saying these are the things that are going to be tested over time. Right. Someone somewhere is going to say, these 10 homes are only available on this on this transaction platform.
Or how about even simpler? How about you have an iPad at your sales office? Buyer comes in with an agent and says, hey, I want to look at it. Great. Don't even sweat it. There you go. Cool. Here's the house. Oh, I really like, I think I'm going to put an offer. Cool. Do you mind clicking this button right here?
Right.
You know what I mean? Just do like, okay, cool. Now let me draft a agreement, because now that's been done through our platform.
Mm-hmm. And the cost is?
And then we take care of the agents. And then you don't talk to the buyer agent. The buyer agent, you're going to get fully compensated. And that's second piece. Buyer agents are the ones who often have these issues with new construction. Maybe the answer there is you go to the home builder, say, hey, my client wants to buy this house. Would you mind if we did this through D-Center? Builder's like, I don't care. Like, why would the builder care? But now the buyer agent's getting compensated at full and not worry about, well, this builder only offers $500 for a buyer. You just get rid of all of that contention. We just get rid of all that simply by filtering the transaction through our platform.
Well, we're never going to have time to answer or predict all questions, but hopefully, if nothing else, after this hour, you're like, well, if I have a question about this, I don't need to call Kevin, and probably shouldn't. I should just call the genius guy who keeps pontificating and coming up with easier and better ways to do things. And so we'll add a link over to Rob and ways to contact him. But
appreciate that. Yeah,
it's exciting. I mean, look, I'm
excited about it, Kevin, because you're the one who opened my eyes to the service that we could provide to a builder community. And I'm like, yes, that's true. And we can solve some of those problems right now.
Yeah. Right? And that's
literally
the thing that's always important to me about any of this is vetting, is this in the best interest of the builder? And that's I mean, Rob, I like you, but you're no different. If something ends up changing or you're like, oh no, we're going to have to charge a $50,000 setup fee, then
no.
The world will know.
No, I know.
It's not.
I think it's more like $500 setup fee. I think we top out at like $5,000 if you have 1 million property records or something crazy.
Yeah. If you are DR or Lennar or whoever. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me a ring. We could do an enterprise thing. But the other part of this, you're exactly right. The part of like I said, this is a business. We're trying to make money. It's capitalist enterprise. Having said that, I really do mean it. I care a whole lot about the fact that homeownership rates are plummeting. I care a great deal. If you read my Substack, if you read, some of my other work, I care a great deal about the fact that young and working families are losing the ability to buy homes. Mm-hmm. The only sort of source of affordable homes today are new construction. That's just the truth of it. Yep. So the more that we can do to help builders get their inventory in front of people, in front of consumers, I think ultimately we're helping buyers. Ultimately. Yeah. Right. Because if I'm just on Zillow, if I'm, and some of these some $350,000 home is on tab 2, I probably never see it. if I saw it, I'd be like, hey, honey, here's a home we can buy. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that's actually like what makes this worth doing. Like, do I
Mhm.
think we're gonna make fortune from doing new construction listings? I
Yeah.
don't, right? But is it gonna help builders? Gonna help, consumers? Is gonna help solve some problem? I do think that, and I think
Right.
that's
And
really
well, and
exciting.
that's, if again, myself and anyone listening, I always encourage everyone to be skeptical and cautious
Yes,
to a
yes,
point. But and that's why I think it's important for people to understand that your platform would win if builders use this tool
yeah,
and paid the fee to keep the servers on, but it would
yeah,
attract other existing home business to
yeah,
become more aware of the
yeah,
platform as well. So there's
yeah.
like there's ways that you're winning
That's right.
beyond transactions being processed. It's
That's
just
right.
overall awareness of realtors saying, "Wait, I want to be on that place where there's
That's right.
already 300 listings in
That's right.
Albuquerque."
That's right. We're 35 today, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
but we're going to try and bring on as many builders across the country as possible because we have the tool, we built it, it works. Now I'm like, let's use it. Let's improve
yeah.
some lives out there.
All right. And breaking news: Rob's going to be joining us at the Online Sales and Marketing
That's right.
Summit in September as well. We're gonna have him talk all about uh, the craziness of the
Yeah,
used home world,
yeah,
and at that point, we'll be closer to the lawsuits and be able to talk more about
that's
potential
right.
changes. And if you've been using the platform and have experience about it, we'll be able to dig into that more as well. So
That'd be great. I mean, if I show up and everyone in the audience is like already using us to send, and then we could turn to like a mini user meeting. It's like, okay, what complaints do you have? What can I improve?
right.
This is great. Well, thanks
Awesome.
so much for the opportunity, Kevin. And
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I ain't gonna lie. And I think we are really
I'm
solving
too.
some problems.
I can't imagine. I just again my brain keeps freezing because of like the other things that haven't, at least on my end, been thought of, that you're like, oh yeah, no, that's where we're going.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm actually really eager to hear from some of the builder community because I'm really not that familiar with that community. Like, what are some of the other things you guys have always wanted to
Oh
try?
yeah. That's you know what, you don't have to sign up for anything. What I think I that's what I keep asking people is like, what drives you crazy about your current MLS experience beyond the fact that your stuff is hard to maintain?
Hmm, hmm.
What are the things that just cause you
Yeah,
pain?
yeah. Or things that you wanted to try, but you couldn't get permission or the data or whatever. Like, I would love to
Mhm.
know. And, like, is that something we can solve? Because it turns out when you start fresh, because that's the way to think about it, we're starting with like a blank sheet of paper, and we're saying 2023 with the technology that's out there, with the systems that are out there, what could we enable? I would love to hear more. I'm sure there's like construction tech companies who are like, oh man, we want to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Talk to me. Maybe we can help you enable that. Who knows? Maybe there's different types of financing, opportunities for. Uh, Talk to me. Like, is that something we can help you with? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
we're trying to create a new sort of wave of innovation, if you will, right? Simply
Got it.
by saying, let's just not deal with some of the 50-year-old rules that
Yeah,
don't apply anymore.
I feel like, the t-shirt needs to say moving is hard enough.
Yeah,
Like, let's try to make the rest of this as easy as possible.
yeah, exactly.
All right, Rob, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Kevin.